Hey guys, I'm John Barklow, and today I want to talk to you about fire making tools. So fire making tools are things like lighters and strikers, knives, hatchets, folding saws, and prefab fire tenders. So all these things are your tools that are at your disposal to build a fire in the backcountry. Now, you're not necessarily going to carry all these tools, but you need to know what tool is specific for the job, or maybe should I say the environment. Now, where I like to carry most of these tools are in my possibles pouch. And the reason is because that possibles pouch is always going to be in my pack. And when I drop that pack to say, go get water for camp, go on a stalk, I'm going to take my possibles pouch with me. And so I always have what I need to build a fire, to survive 24 hours out in that possibles pouch, combined with my clothing. So the knife you pick can have a big determination on how useful it's going to be for you in the field. So the type of knife that I recommend is something that's a fixed blade. So scalpels are great, and scalpels are a great tool. Scalpels are not going to allow you to chop and baton wood and procure that fuel that you need to build that fire. And so something 3 to 5 inch blade, very durable knife, something that's going to hold an edge is something that I like to carry. Now I do carry a scalpel, but those scalpels are oftentimes in my kill kit for helping process that animal. Now hatchets are another great tool, assuming you have one. Now the thing with the hatchets that I always caution people on is how they use them. So I've seen too many times where somebody's trying to hold a piece of wood and then let go of the wood and swing that hatchet. And I actually had a friend almost completely cut his thumb off on a remote backcountry hunt in Alaska. And luckily the float plane was still in the air and he could get comms on the VHF radio and have that plane come back and evac him immediately to the hospital. So I'm always cautious with hatchets. And so batoning is the better way to use a hatchet. And any of these tools that you're going to use, safety is of the utmost importance. Now, another tool that's really good, if you have it, is a portable folding saw. Now, a folding saw is great for, say, cutting up some rounds of some standing deadwood that's going to be a little bit bigger in diameter and you're not necessarily going to want to chop through with a knife. But if you're going, say, elk hunting, having that folding saw can actually be a really good way to process an animal. Or if you're in bear country, maybe cutting some limbs to hang meat or hang your food. So these are all tools that are at your disposal, again, that you have to kind of pick. When we get to actually starting the fire, tinder or prefab fire tinder is actually the nucleus of the fire. That is actually what we are going to ignite that's going to start the entire process of building that fire. Now, prefab fire tenders are really great resources that we have available now. So these are things like wet fire and different types of ropes and things with resins. We also have things like cotton balls with Vaseline or duct tape. We have lots of things at our disposal, but you also have the ability to use natural tinder. Now, natural tinder is again going to depend on your environment. So do you have access to like punky wood or maybe pine needles or tree sap, something along those lines? So, it's going to depend on what you have. Now, if you find moss while you're walking through the forest on your hunt, maybe you take some of that moss and stick it in your pocket and dry it with body heat. But it's really important to always have some prefab fire tinder or have access to some natural fire tinder, because without those tools and that tinder, you're not going to be able to actually get the fire going. Now, the other thing to consider when you have these fire making tools like Bic lighters, I like refillable windproof lighters, ferro rods, magnesium rods, things like that are actually going to spark the fire. I like to have multiple sources to actually start that fire tinder. But the one thing that I see people make the mistake on is they have the tools, they have the strikers, and they have the tinder, but maybe that ignition method doesn't actually meet up or marry up with that prefab or natural fire tinder. So as an example, sparking a flint and steel, say on a piece of wet fire, is not always going to be the best way to ignite that. A lighter is fairly universal, or like putting some magnesium down on some tree sap or, some punky wood, maybe that's a good way, but maybe, having the lighter and a ferro rod is really what I recommend. I have lighters all over me, one for my stove, right? One for checking wind, maybe on my optics harness, one in my possibles pouch. It's really important to have that way. And this is what training is all about, is going out and training and making sure that what you carry actually works together to give you that capability. So when you go out, you have these tools assembled, you have these ignition, strikers, tinders assembled. Go out and train in inclement weather and make sure that they actually work, because what this is going to do is it's going to build confidence in you as an outdoorsman and help you evolve. And if you do get in that situation where you have to make a fire, you're going to have the best chance of success, because if you're going to make a fire in a worst case scenario, that fire could save you or your partner's life.